All right, as always, let's dive right in. So let me start by explaining why it's relevant to use the 5 types of experience. Why there are using them. Well, I started using them I think about 4 or 5 years ago because what I see is that customer experience is such a broad topic that people are drowning and they are not speaking the same language. So let's say somebody that's in UX will talk about customer experience, somebody that's in a call center will talk about customer experience, and they're not wrong, but it's just not helpful to really understand each other and to connect all the dots. So that's why I started to split them, pretty black and white. I started to split them and work with the 5 types of experience. And of course, it's not that black and white, but it just helps to speak the same language, understand what is what, and then in the end, of course, the essence is to connect them again. Let's go through the 5 types. So the first type is brand experience. So brand experience should be telling me something about my purpose. What is my unique contribution to the world? Why is our company doing what it's doing? Your brand should be the guide for all the other types of experience. And I'm saying should be because often that's not. And often brand is communicating something outside, externally, but it's not translated to every other step in my journey, for example, as a customer. So it should be saying something about your purpose. And then, for example, if my brand promise is all around ease, the journeys of a customer should be looking very differently than if my brand promise was all about, let's say, personal attention. And so brand is your compass, your direction for everything else. Then we have customer experience. So for me, customer experience starts from the moment I've decided I'm going to company X. So I start with the website, maybe I apply for something, I use the products until I leave again. So all my journeys, that is for me customer experience. How company X is top of mind, that again is a brand experience. And that's where I pull them apart. And of course, for each journey, you want to make sure that the journey is aligned with my brand promise, but also you want to know, okay, but what are the key drivers to really enhance the experience of my customers in each journey? And that's where the metrics come in later. So each type of experience also has their own type of metrics. And often you see that the metrics are misused. So the wrong metric is being used in the, let's say, wrong type of experience. But I'll explain that in a few minutes. So that's customer experience. Then employee experience is the same. So it's the journey from the moment I've decided to apply for a job at company X. So my recruitment journey, onboarding, I'm working, and in the end, I'm leaving. So are all those journeys in line with my brand promise, in this case, my employer branding? And do I know exactly what are the key drivers for my employees, for employee engagement? The fourth type of experience is service experience. And service experience, again, I define it consciously really small, are all the human channels. So I call with your organization, I email, I chat. And also here you want to make sure, hey, when I call, is that aligned with my brand promise? And the example I always use is, let's say I'm calling Nike, then I think the tape that I want to hear while I'm waiting should be maybe some super inspirational quote from an athlete, right? But think about how can I make each element of my service experience aligned with my brand promise. And also here you want to know, okay, but what are the key drivers to enhance the experience? Should it be waiting time, which a lot of people think, but by the way, that's not the number one driver. Should it be the employee and how they listen to me? So also here, what are the drivers so I can enhance the experience with my channels in this case, the human channels. Then again, making it really small, black and white. For me, user experience are all the digital channels. And I know that people in service design and UX will disagree because, anybody in these 5 types can be a user. And they're not wrong. But the only thing is what I see is if you make it too broad, then there's just a lot of disconnect, who's doing what, and it's just not clear. So for me, UX, I make it again small. It's the app, it's the website, it's my digital interactions. On the employee side and the customer side. So of course, in the end, you want to connect the 5 because what's also happening is that often in an organization, you have different departments that are responsible for each type. A brand tends to be marketing, CX, sometimes there's a CX team, but also it's often marketing. HR responsible for employee, call center is often responsible for service, and then a digital team or marketing also responsible for UX. And they don't really talk with each other a lot. Right? And for CX transformation, what you want to do is connect all five so you elevate the experience as a whole. So those are the 5 types. Then the crucial element is, okay, which metrics do we have and how are they connected to each type? So for brand experience, yeah, I see this is not super clear because it's behind my video, but for brand experience, it's the NPS, the Net Promoter Score. Why? Because when I'm thinking about recommending something, I'm taking a lot of things into account. So this is the brand NPS, the relational NPS, and would you recommend the company? So transactional NPS, would you recommend us based on interaction X, to me makes absolutely no sense. So my advice here, measure it only once a year as a sanity check. Am I moving in the right direction? Don't ask about any root causes because you will never find the drivers. And if that's new to you, then check out the other video on my channel about how to really find the drivers. So it's really just a temperature check. Are we moving in the right direction? So for brand experience, NPS. Then for customer experience, it's satisfaction. So satisfaction with the journey. So that's on a scale of 1 to 10. How satisfied are you with applying for product X, for example? How satisfied are you with, I don't know, having a claim at an insurance company? So how satisfied are you with journey X? And then, of course, the key is not satisfaction as such, but to figure out what are the drivers that give me the fastest way to enhance experience. That's where the other video comes in. So it's satisfaction. You could use, let's say in your case, your board is really pushing for NPS and you cannot replace it with satisfaction. Then I have 2 tips. You can use NPS on a journey level, but make sure, again, you're not asking for root causes with open questions, but you're using the statistical driver technique to figure out, okay, what is the biggest driver for NPS? And then you're asking just the brand NPS at a journey level. So again, not based on this specific interaction, would you recommend us? And I always advise measure both, right? If your board is pushing for NPS, then at least add also the satisfaction question in your journey, because then you can also see if the drivers of satisfaction are different from the drivers of NPS. What we've seen so far is that there's not a lot of difference. So that could also be a good way to start talking about, hey, maybe we should replace NPS with satisfaction. But that's a different discussion. Back to the metrics. Employee experience. Well, if there's some place where there's a lot of creative accounting going on with metrics, it's an employee engagement. Every employee engagement tool that I've reviewed, I get a lot of questions from companies, hey, just review the research that we're doing, is flawed. It's not measuring the scientific definition of engagement. Well, I'm not super scientific person, and my goal is to impact business, so why does this scientific thing matter? Well, if you're not measuring employee engagement, then you can never find the drivers of employee engagement. So what I see often is that they create an index where they do the average of, let's say, the employee NPS, would you recommend this company as a place to work for, the regular NPS, satisfaction, and are you willing to stay in the next couple of years? And then they mix that as an average and say, hey, this is your engagement index. Has nothing to do with the scientific definition of engagement. The good news, there's already for years an existing scale that I also use in my PhD that measures affective commitment. That's where AFCOM stands for. So affective commitment is my emotional connection to the organization. Statements like, I feel like I'll belong in company X. So it's really the soft side, my emotional connection to the company. And then you want to figure out, okay, from all the topics like purpose, my manager, the understanding how I can impact customers, what has the biggest impact on that affective commitment? And then you're in the driving seat of employee experience. Also here, I would refer to another slide deck and recording about the employee energy index that I created for this specific purpose. Service experience. So service experience, also satisfaction. So how satisfied were you with customer service? How satisfied were you with calling our call center? But also first time right. First time right is not the same as first time fix. First time fix is, do you answer my question in one call? and all call centers are already monitoring that. They should, because it's an important driver. But first time right is the question, dear customer, could we have prevented this interaction? That's what it's all about, understanding, okay, what contacts are valuable for both the customer as well as the organization. And this is your super, super easy entrance to a very fast business case. Because what we've seen is between 20 and 30%, 30, are saying, yes, this contact could have been prevented. That means that's 30% of, let's say, 1 million calls times 10 euro. That's a 3 million business case, while making customers happy because they also didn't want to call because, I don't know, the website was not doing what they should. So it's a good metric to track that balances hard steerable information, financial information, and a win-win for the company and customers. Final type of experience and metric, the customer effort score. So for me, the customer effort score should not be measured in service, should not be measured as a journey metric, but it's really only a digital metric. Why? Because the amount of effort, so how easy was something, is really transactional. So I can use the customer effort score in the app and I can say the app made it easy for me to, I don't know, check my invoice. The website made it easy for me to download something. And so that's how you use the customer effort score. Ease of doing things is often a driver in a journey and is often a driver in customer service, but it's not an end metric. So whenever you're figuring out what are the drivers, I always add a statement about, it was easy to call, it was easy to apply for a product, but it's never the end metric. It's only the end metric for UX. And because the customer effort score is really transactional, here it's absolutely fine to just have one question with an open text. And remember that in the NPS, I'm saying don't ask for root causes because your analysis will be flawed. Because you're asking me rationally, why am I giving this score? While my answer is not rational. It's often emotional and subconscious. But on the user experience, it's so transactional. The app made it easier for me to check my invoice. Then it's perfectly fine to follow up with an open question asking, okay, if the score is not super high, hey Zanna, can you mention one thing that we could have done to make it easier for you? Or if it is a super high score, hey, thanks a lot Zanna, what was the one thing that made it so easier for you? And then you can use AI to analyze all this open text to help you processing all the data. So on that end, one question, open text, no problem. On NPS or almost any other location, don't ask open questions because you will think that you found the drivers, but they're not the subconscious latent needs of your customers. All right, that's it. So the 5 types of experience and their metrics, this is how they're all connected. And again, for CX transformation, make sure you connect all the dots, and then you're really having an impact for your business side of experience.